good, YouTube? It's your boy Lang, man, and I'm back here with another reaction video sliming right now. I'm about to react to Forensic Files, and this one's called Chief Suspect. Now, Forensic Files, with these reactions right here, you feel me? Y'all know these are my favorites to do outside of my music reactions and the story times, you feel me? Because this is real life, you feel me? You hear the most scandalous stories that these people do to the so-called people they love or mess with, like, you feel me? And these are one of them videos that, you know what I mean, where y'all told me it's going to be wild. So we about to see what y'all talking about in the comments. And before I get started too, y'all make sure you hit that sub button, you feel me? And make sure to check out my other reactions like the story times, more of the Forensic File reactions on the channel. You feel me? The music reactions, like, bro, y'all go tap in, you feel me? Because a lot of y'all just, you feel me, y'all come over here and then don't even tap in with the, you know? Like, bro, go check them out, you feel me? And hit that sub button too, you feel me? And y'all know with these videos, we about to chill for the next 20, 25 minutes. So get your favorite snack, drink, smoke, whatever the case may be. You feel me? Because we about to see what happened. So let's get into it, Slum. Let's go. Let's get it.
Esse programa contém dramatizações de eventos reais e não se destina a público jovem. Alguns nomes foram alterados para proteger os inocentes.
The wife of a respected police officer was murdered in her home, but the motive was unclear. The crime went unsolved for more than a decade until a cold case unit took a fresh look and found evidence on the 911 call that had previously been overlooked.
I gotta call Phelps, man. Stay on the line with me.
Most everyone in the small town of Springboro, Ohio, knew Jim and Vicki Barton. Jim was a lieutenant in the local police department, a rising star who many believed would one day be chief of police.
He's always been very thorough, very professional, easy to work with and easy to get a hold of.
His wife, Vicki, was a nurse supervisor at the local hospital.
She loved her work. She was a very compassionate person, so I knew she was very good at what she did.
One night after work, Jim returned home and found everything in disarray. In the bedroom, he found his wife. She had been shot to death.
911, what is the emergency?
My wife has just been killed, I think.
Where's she at? Are you at
This is Lieutenant Barton. There was a pillow over her head, and she's not breathing, and she's got her clothes off. I don't know what's going on, but give me some help out here.
Give it to dispatch right now.
Just getting there was the first thing I wanted to do. A lot of things were going through my mind. Knowing Jim was a policeman, did someone try to hurt him, hurt his family?
When paramedics arrived, they pronounced Vicki Barton dead at the scene. She had been shot 3 times in the head, execution style.
I found that odd.
Yeah, that's personal. Like, bro, somebody do you like that, like, that's crazy. You know what I mean?
2 behind the ear, that was different. We never did really come to a full understanding of, was it overkill? We just don't know in what order they occurred.
The motive didn't appear to be robbery. Vicki's jewelry was still in the bedroom, and Jim's gun collection had been ransacked, but nothing was missing. Investigators found no foreign fingerprints in the house.
They dusted 4 feet high on those walls all the way back, and nothing. They dusted the bedroom. Nothing.
At the autopsy, the medical examiner identified the murder weapon as a .22 caliber. He also found evidence that Vicky had been sexually assaulted during the attack and bitten.
I had swabbed this area and collected saliva, and in that saliva they were able to recover DNA of the person who had bit her.
This DNA did not match anyone in the database of known criminal offenders. As a precaution, investigators also compared the DNA to Vicky's husband, Jim, and it also didn't match.
Who would do something to her? She was the most likable person. She could get along with anyone.
Earlier on the day of the murder, Vicky called her husband to say that a young man had come to the door needing help because his car had run out of gas.
And Jim didn't like that, and he said, "What'd you do?" And he said, "I hope you put a gun in his head." She goes, "No, it was okay, Jim. He just wanted gas." He was a very polite young man, and I got him some gas. He left.
Was it possible that the man was actually casing the Barton home and was the one who committed the murder?
It could have been planned, the whole thing. I mean, they could have targeted Jim and Vicky, or it could have been totally random. I don't like to arrive at a decision too quick, but I didn't like what I was seeing. I'll leave it at that.
The execution-style murder of Vicky Barton, a police lieutenant's wife, rocked the small town of Springboro, Ohio.
When we're talking about a woman being murdered in her home in the middle of the day in Warren County, that was big news. That was country. That's where people went to get away from bad things. So it was big news.
Police had to consider whether someone Jim Barton once arrested had sought revenge.
There has never been a murder of anyone connected to a law enforcement officer in this county that I can remember. We've had officers killed, but never a family member and never a homicide.
Investigators checked ex-convicts from Jim's case files, but didn't come up with any leads. Days passed, then weeks, and no new information surfaced. On the one-year anniversary of Vicky's murder, the case remained unsolved.
The case was worked very heavily, especially because it was a police officer's wife that was murdered, and they went through every lead that they had.
Jim Barton went on with his life.
I offered to just lend an ear if he needed a friend to talk to that had known her. And he asked me for my phone number. He wrote it down, said, "I will probably call you." And he did. The very next night.
15 months after Vicky's murder, he married Mary Ann Lacey, Vicky's childhood friend, and the bridesmaid at their wedding.
Whoa, bro, that's out of pocket. That's out of pocket. Wait, how you just, bro, what? That's out of pocket.
Known her. And he asked me for my phone number. He wrote it down, said, "I will probably call you." And he did. The very next night.
15 months after Vicky's murder, he married Mary Ann Lacey, Vicky's childhood friend, and the bridesmaid at their wedding. But the marriage was in trouble from the start. Within months, Mary Ann started noticing strange behavior. She said Jim spent hours alone in the darkened basement.
It was very quiet, and I never knew what he was doing. And that really put me into a panic.
After 17 months, the couple divorced. Meanwhile, investigators never gave up the search for Vicky's killer.
This was something that haunted that community out there. It was haunting, a scary mystery, and people known to the community and loved and respected. It needed to be resolved.
Then, 4 years after the murder, police got their first real break. Gary Henson, a small-time criminal was arrested on a drug charge. During police questioning, he said he knew something about Vicky Barton's murder.
He kind of started crying and broke down to the detective and said, I have something I need to tell you. And he told him that his brother was involved in the murder of the police officer's wife.
Henson's half-brother, William Phelps, told him about the crime. Phelps said it was supposed to be a robbery, but his accomplice, probably high on drugs, lost control, sexually assaulted Vicky Barton, then killed her. A background check revealed William Phelps was not at work on the day Vicky was murdered. Unfortunately, he was unavailable for questioning. Phelps killed himself just 3 months after Vicky Barton's murder.
He acted strange, that he actually went through a paranoid stage, sleeping with a gun and making sure the windows were locked every night. And he put traps outside his window to make alarm in case somebody would come up. He acted like a guy that was very afraid after the homicide.
And Gary Henson said that Phelps never revealed the identity of his accomplice.
As a result of what Gary Henson told them, they then exhumed the body of his brother, Will Phelps, to try to determine if the DNA that was found on Vicky's body was the same.
Forensic pathologist Dr. Lee Lehman relied on Will Phelps' teeth for the DNA.
The reason we extract teeth for DNA is because inside the teeth, the cells are held in calcium, very firm, hard materials in the enamel. And it is not contaminated by bacteria and decomposition.
William Phelps' DNA did not match the saliva on Vicky Barton's body. Gary Henson's DNA didn't match either.
We have evidence that he was in jail at the time of her murder, and there was no way he could have been that person.
It was another dead end.
I got up and took a long walk. In fact, I left the office. I drove around for a while, thinking, where do we go next?
Another 4 years went by. Then, a cold case unit reopened the investigation of Vicky Barton's murder. They were particularly interested in Jim Barton's comment to his colleague at the murder scene.
He told me, he said, they killed her, man. Those murdering bastards, they killed her.
But how did Jim Barton know there was more than one perpetrator?
You don't talk about them and they unless you know who them and they are.
Estamos apresentando Medical Detectives.
8 years after Vicky Barton's murder, the Warren County Sheriff's Office in Ohio formed a cold case unit specifically to reopen the investigation. They started at the very beginning by listening to the 911 call Jim Barton made after finding his wife's body.
I'm checking the rest of the house. All my stuff's laying out in here. Oh, man. I got to call Phelps, man. Stay on the line with me.
We were beginning some realization here that there's something to this, or something more to this.
Did he say he had to call for help? Or that he had to call Phelps?
I got to call Phelps, man.
An informant identified William Phelps as one of the men involved in Vicky Barton's murder. And it sounded like Vicky's husband, Jim, mentioned Phelps' name on the 911 call.
Oh, man. I got to call Phelps, man.
Jim Barton, still a lieutenant with the Springboro Police, insisted. He said he needed to call for help. He said he didn't know anyone named Phelps.
It was already on 911, so there's no reason or need to call for help. And again, the word that I heard was Phelps.
To find out what Jim Barton said on the 911 tape, investigators turned to Dr. Robert Fox, a faculty member of Ohio State University, a linguist and expert on acoustic phonics.
Speech recognition is a science. We put a lot of money into it, but nothing as good as the human ear and the human perceptual system in understanding speech, in part because human listeners are also human speakers, and there's a very close connection between those two.
Dr. Fox was asked if he could determine if Jim Barton said Phelps or for help, and to eliminate any potential bias. That was all he was told.
911, what is the emergency?
My wife has just been killed, I think.
Where's she at?
This is Lieutenant Barton.
Dr. Fox took the 911 call and broke it down into waveforms, visual pictures that detailed the energy of voice and cadence. He was particularly interested in two groups of sounds, vowels, which are soft, and fricatives, or hard sounds.
Fricatives include sounds like F, as in Frank. And the reason it's interesting is that in this particular call, one of the critical issues with whether he said F, as in Phelp, or fine, or farm, or whether there was an H in there that might have indicated that he said help.
Give me some help. Give me some help.
Dr. Fox used a computer program to perform a spectrum analysis of the sounds associated with individual letters in the recording.
After I had isolated a number of different Fs, for example, in Mr. Barton's voice, I then compared these different Fs in a systematic way one to another. I also excised several examples of Mr. Barton saying H, and I compared those to the fricatives.
Give me some help. Give me some help. Call Phelps. Call Phelps.
When the key part of the tape, only 2.5 seconds, was analyzed, the result was clear.
I gotta call Phelps, man.
Barton was saying a simple F sound, as in Phelps.
Call Phelps, man.
He was not saying something more complex, such as for help.
Give me some help.
I must admit that this 911 tape was the clearest tape I'd ever heard of that fashion. Very easy to understand, very easy to analyze.
And the audio analysis also showed something unexpected. Jim Barton was moving things around the house while he was talking on the telephone.
Lieutenant Barton. I hear me in the back world.
You shouldn't be doing this.
Wait a second. So, bro, you set up your own wife to get... That's crazy, bro. That's what I'm saying, bro. That's why I be telling y'all these reactions, like, these people be scandalous, bro. And then they want to claim that they love them and all the shit. And it's just like, you didn't. Because if you did, you would not have did what you did. Period. Feel me? Like, that's crazy. He set his own wife up for, you know what I mean? That's crazy.
An evidence technician. He's a trained evidence technician. He knows he shouldn't be touching or moving anything in that house.
Did you have anything to do with your home being burglarized that day?
No, I did not.
Did you have anything to do with your wife's murder that day?
Nothing. Jim Barton still maintained his innocence and volunteered to take a polygraph test. Jim Barton failed the test. When news of Barton's possible involvement became public, a local waitress came forward to say she saw Jim Barton and William Phelps sitting together in her restaurant.
She saw Jim Barton talking to Will Phelps. She saw them together. Jim Barton denied knowing Will Phelps, but she testified that she had seen them together in the past.
10 years after the murder, Jim Barton was arrested and charged with complicity to commit involuntary manslaughter. The police informant, Gary Henson, now revealed one last piece of information he had previously withheld.
He told our investigators that Jim Barton had contacted his brother and said, I need my wife scared. And could you do a burglary to scare her?
But why would Jim Barton want to scare his wife? When that question was finally answered. No one, not even Jim's best friends, could believe it. Investigators wondered why Jim Barton, a 15-year veteran of the Springboro Police Department, would hire others to...
I got the homie hitting me up, bro. I'm trying to react. You feel me? Golly.
Intimidate and frighten his wife, Vicky. Then they remembered that Jim Barton had actively campaigned for the job of police chief. But to get that position, he had to live within the city limits of Springboro. And apparently, Vicky didn't want to move from their 10-acre farm located outside of town.
That's why we think he did this. He wanted to scare his wife off of the farm. They were in a remote, desolate area, into the city where he would then be able to apply for chief.
My bad, yo, bro. The homie called me because, you know, but we back to it, though. You feel me? We back to it. You know what I mean? And no, I'm not editing that out, bro. Like I always tell y'all, y'all gonna get it raw and direct with me. You feel me? I'm not, you feel me? Keep it real on this channel.
Desolate area, into the city where he would then be able to apply for chief.
Jim wanted to scare Vicky. He hired these people to come in and scare her. From some of the testimony I heard or listening to the cold case, he actually paid these people an extra dollar amount to fire one shot above Vicky's head.
So let me get this straight. You paid for you set up to get, and then you paid for it? Like that, bro. What?
Investigators believe that it was William Phelps who knocked on Vicky's door telling her he ran out of gas, and that he did so to make sure she was alone. Phelps later returned to the house with an accomplice intending to rob her. Instead, his accomplice, possibly high on drugs, lost control and sexually assaulted Vicky. Then he killed her because she could have identified them. Prosecutors believe Jim Barton came home expecting his wife to tell him about the robbery. Instead, he found she had been murdered. He called 911 to report.
You see, bro? And she didn't even deserve that, bro. Like, bro, you're weird. You're a weirdo, bro, for even doing this stuff. Why would you want to scare it? Just because you didn't want to move. She didn't want to move, I mean. You did this, bro.
The crime. But according to audio experts, mumbled something incriminating, almost as if he was talking to himself.
Where's she at? I'm checking the rest of the house. All my stuff's laying out in here. Oh, man. I gotta call Phelps, man. Stay on the line with me.
William Phelps killed himself 3 months after Vicky's murder. Most likely because of his involvement in this case.
He did not leave a note, and his wife wondered for years what happened and why he committed suicide.
Ironically, Jim Barton moved into Springboro shortly after Vicky's murder, but he never achieved his dream of becoming police chief. He was passed over for the promotion 3 different times. Before the trial, Jim Barton was offered a plea bargain in return for identifying Phelps' accomplice, but he refused. He always insisted he knew nothing about the crime.
It's hard to say what Jim Barton knows and doesn't know. We plan at some point to go to him once this is all resolved, the appeals are over, and ask him if he can help us out with who that other person is, but it has not happened yet.
Jim Barton was convicted of complicity to commit manslaughter. He was sentenced to a minimum of 15 years in prison. Had it not been for the forensic analysis of Jim's 911 call, the case might never have been solved.
Jim Barton is where he needs to be. Doesn't necessarily settle well since he's a cop, but again, it's the truth. A crime was committed, and justice has been served.
These are pros, and when you're a pro, it's real simple. No one gets away with murder. I don't care what uniform you're wearing. No one gets away with murder.
And I'm going to end it right there, Slime. Let me know how y'all felt about it. Me, personally, bro deserves whatever he gets. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, bro, like, bro, you did this because she didn't want to move, bro. Are you kidding me? You feel me? Like, but y'all just let me know how y'all felt about it. You feel me? And like I said, man, if y'all haven't already, go check out my other Forensic File reactions. I got a whole playlist on the channel if you haven't seen those already. You feel me? I got music reactions over here, story times. You feel me? All that. You feel me on the channel. So go tap in with those videos if you haven't already. I love y'all. Y'all stay safe, and I'm going to get at y'all next time. Already.